Welcome to Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. Georgia's offense against Auburn got it going and was really efficient in the second half, both on the ground and through the air. That's what we were talking about in this video. There are 3 videos this week, which is kind of our customary deal now, where we'll have our play of the game that's coming up in a live video after this, but then also some missed opportunities from Georgia's offense. So if you're watching this out of sequence, we do talk about some of the errors that Georgia had as well. But in this particular video, we're focusing on the things that either Georgia corrected or went to when things weren't going right. And Brent, it really started with the running game and the protection up front.
Yeah, what's interesting, you talk about the efficiency and the success they had in the second half. Think about that game if you flip the halves. Like if the second half is the first half, that's we dominated, we kind of coasted and took the foot off the gas in the second half. Like, it's a completely different vibe for the game if you kind of flip the halves. But like you said, it was a struggle in the first, but the running game, and I think almost it was a pointed effort to have success and to focus in on the running game. And, whether or not that's a Stetson injury thing, who knows? But, it's still yet one of these things where if you think about, hey, we're looking at this in the long term of what we need to do against Tennessee, what we need to do against Mississippi State, and our later part of our schedule, we need to get the running game going and be efficient with it. And I think they were able to do that in this game.
Let's start with, we have 9 plays for some positive offensive things. And I thought this was interesting. You get in the red zone and you get the stack box look, and Georgia goes to an old faithful play, but one that I don't remember seeing, at least with frequency, as often in recent, I would even say years. This is a 3rd and goal toss.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's amazing when you think about what you can do with Bowers. I mean, he's essentially the fullback here, but you'd been stuffed on the previous couple plays, and I like it. And like it for a couple reasons. One, the back gets the ball quick. It's not like turn, hand, the back gets the ball maybe like 2-3 yards from the line of scrimmage. The back gets the ball quick and 5-6 yards from the line of scrimmage. Now, granted, you think, oh, he only got 1 yard to go. But this way, you're able to really see quickly where you need to go as a back. And it lets them sort of use their natural instincts. Bowers gets enough. Our boy Blasky was a little late off the ball, but still did really good work in his weird-looking 85 jersey that he wears.
Yeah, they have to do that. They have to do that so he can be the additional blocker out there,
because he's an eligible receiver technically. So
yeah,
but he was very slow off the ball. Like Stetson was almost in the full turn, but he still did great work on the play itself. And the cool thing for me with this is I always look at plays and think, all right, what can the next iteration be?
Can I guess it?
I would say go for it.
All right. Well, actually, you said Bowers. I think I'm going to get this wrong. If this is on tape, my idea was, well, everything's moving to this direction. So what if Mr. Bennett faked the pitch and just trotted out over here?
Yeah. When the same sort of thing, but Bowers coming with him.
Oh,
like
so Bowers kind of cross formation.
Fake the toss, bootleg. Bowers is kind of your underneath guy. Your receivers going to the corner of the end zone, and it's you got 2 options or run as the third option. Like that to me is something that could be. Now, do they have that in their offense? Who knows? But I know I would.
Go to the next play here,
but hey, touchdown. All right, we talked about this on the post game show. Like, to me, this should be the first play of the game every single game, except for one little wrinkle. Like, you see Branson Robinson here attacking very wide to the left. I would rather him attack off the right guard, right tackles, sort of almost straight ahead to make that defensive end crash even more and think run, because he can see that he's going away, doesn't have the ball, versus him going almost straight ahead, kind of a split zone read, which is what this is. In a way, they don't truly read it. This is more just true play action. But I just love what this does for Stetson in the offense. And it's so easy when you have both Bowers and Darnell in the role where Darnell gets this ball, but either one, they're interchangeable. But it's an easy throw and him on the move. And it's one like last year he was really bad on the move, and this year been phenomenal when on the move. And I think just himself, the comfort level is there. But after the fumble, after the strip sack fumble, they started each of the next or 3 of the next 4 drives with play action, and had success with each one.
I always like this just because you layer up the options, and Stetson Bennett has proven that he does really well with this. So
Yes.
essentially saying, hey, Stetson, get away from all of this that's happening over here
Yep.
because the play fake did work, and then do what you do and throw on the run. And Coach Donnan kept saying that this guy's not a drop back passer. This guy is get on the edge kind of guy. And this is a really good success rate. And to me, yeah, there's all these layers here, but who's going to be able to cover Darnell Washington right there? Nobody.
And get it to him, and just get it to him. And you think about when Oregon, Darnell caught it early against maybe it was Kent State. Like he threw the deep ball to Ladd, but it was the same type of play. By the way, Stetson on play action in the game, 6 of 8 for 76 yards. It was the highest yards per attempt of any sort of situation in the game.
So you're saying do play action more?
Always. Like against Oregon, his best game of the season, it was 40% of their throws were play action. Like it's just it's the identity of this team, I think, and that's what they need to be as a run, play action, occasional drop back, screen, quick pass stuff, but that's what they need to be. And I think got back in the second half to who they are.
Third positive play offensively. This is the drop back.
Yes, and this was, I think it was 3rd and 6, and they got the clap, kind of jumped off sides over on the right side. But what was funny is my sons and I were sitting there watching the game, and I wrote my note. I said, all right, levels concept. And then Neuheisel on the broadcast was talking about how it was, this is a levels concept. I'm like, but it is. And he's shown time and time again that he can make that. I mean, because you're asking like one hash to the opposite sideline. That's not an easy throw. And he's shown consistently, especially in third down situations, that he can just make that throw.
And it's on the money. And Ladd's there, and he turns around and makes the catch. Like, this is not one that I think anything crazy schematically happened other than some good routes and a good throw.
Yeah, and you got short, you got intermediate, you got long. And it's just pick the window, pick the open window, read the defense, pick the open window.
We talk about what Bowers commands over here, though.
Yeah.
Just look at these 3 people trying to stay in his area.
Yeah, always.
So
safety over the top, always.
Typically, the good plays for Georgia, either they go to Bowers or Bowers helped open up something for someone else. He's that kind of guy.
Yes, and he is. He's one of the best players in college football. Oh, the beautiful play right here.
I hear the excitement in your voice.
It's the parting of the Great White Sea here.
This has been there for Georgia, and in fact, I thought it's what was lacking against Missouri last week was Stetson Bennett taking off, running like this, because if you stack the box and you work the edges to try to prevent the sideline throws, well, guess what's available in the middle? Make one guy miss, and in this case, you don't have to do that.
Especially when he reads pre-snap that the middle of the field is open. Because if you look like right when the ball snapped, the middle field is open. It's not closed. There's not a safety in the middle of the field. There's those 2 safeties are there, and they instantly started turning their heads towards the sideline.
All that's open. And then I'm looking over here.
Yep.
Here. And here. So, duh. As long as Truss and
Willock.
Willock's in there in this one. As long as Willock and Van Pran make their blocks here, then take this every single time. Because what is the point of having a mobile quarterback if you're not going to take advantage of this?
I wholeheartedly agree. He has to be a threat. And that can slow down rush. That can do all sorts of things. And he
has wheels.
Yes,
he has wheels.
The video, like the TV shot where the guy afterward was like, "Woo," and it's like, I think that boy fast. That boy fast. kind of reaction.
All right, next play. This one starts a little bit after the play had begun, but I liked it anyway.
Well, and it's also play action. So what does play action do? It slows that rush a little bit. That's not those guys instantly sort of ripping and getting into the moves. It slows them down a little bit. Erickson does a decent job. And Dom is Dom, who always is working consistently, finding the open spots, doesn't stop his route, keeps working to the middle of the field. And, we talked about Dom last couple of weeks, really, just about the nuances of his game. If I'm a coach, I point to him and I'll be like, all right, other receivers, like, watch what this guy does, because there's a little thing that he does on this that isn't really that big of a deal, but it's a big deal. Which is he catches the ball and puts it in his outside arm. Like, how often do you see receivers catch the ball right there and they put it in their sort of dominant right arm? Because look at 6 coming across with the big arm chop. Ball's in the outside arm, no fumble, take care of the football, little details. And Blaylock, to me, always the little details of the game are his best piece, best attribute.
I want to focus on the offensive line here for a second, because we have Warren Erickson here, and then we still have Broderick Jones. So Stetson Bennett steps back up into the pocket to this area here because he senses that this is coming to his
getting upfield.
Getting upfield on him. Now, Broderick Jones is continuing to fight his guy one-on-one. This is open space over here, and I want you to see this one step that this defensive lineman makes to the outside here. Because if he continues to fight to the inside, he's going to stop Stetson Bennett from doing what he's trying to do here. So Broderick Jones continuing to fight, forcing the step to the outside, makes this play even possible where Stetson Bennett has somewhere to go to. Right there.
Yep.
And then he tries to come back. It's too late. Stetson's throwing. If that one step is back to the inside to the pocket, then this play doesn't get off. And what I'm saying is, kudos to both of these offensive linemen for staying engaged in those blocks, because Stetson had ample time. They did their jobs. But sticking with it allows some of these special plays to happen.
And you got an offensive line right now that's not necessarily playing elite from a pass blocking standpoint, but is playing really well. Stetson's been pressured on, I think, 18%, or a little under 18% or 19% of his dropbacks, which I think is like the 5th lowest in the FBS. So that's really good.
Move ahead to the next play. Sideline view over 3rd and 9. Georgia was pretty good on 3rd downs,
especially in the second half. And we've seen this multiple times over the past few weeks where his movement up into the pocket, clearer throwing lanes, sees it better, who knows what. But the ability, this is the sort of maturation part, the ability to, like, what would Ashford done here? Ashford would have stepped up and tried to run, tried to get 9 yards running. He steps up to throw. And that's a phenomenal job by him looking down the field.
This is kind of a beware that with a guy like Stetson Bennett, if you get too far upfield as a defensive lineman, he will step up and just go past you. Like, you can run yourself out of the play if you're not careful here. And to me, we know that Stetson Bennett's not a drop back passer. So in doing so, you're actually helping him if there's a lane to work in. Now, maybe you run him into other traffic and you have a team defensive play. But from an individual standpoint, I think you want Stetson Bennett to stay in the pocket.
Yep.
If you're a defense.
And I talked about this a little bit ago, but just sort of looking at the data, when he's been moved this year, sort of moved off his spot like that, 11 of 18 for 153 yards and a touchdown, 60-something passing grade. But it's not so much that that's phenomenal. It's looking at how bad it was last year. Last year, when he was sort of moved off his spot, 7 of 31 for 125 yards, 29.9 passing grade. He was awful when sort of moved off the spot. This year, he's been excellent, especially with his eyes, keeping the ball and putting the ball where it needs to go.
He's done this 2 weeks in a row where it looks like he could tuck and run and try to get what he wants to, but he still keeps the eyes downfield and makes a really confident pass. And I think these are really hard to defend because it's a bit like a baseball throw, right? Where you can really put this in terms of height level where you want to when you have nothing in front of you like that. So if he wants to put this kind of lower at the midsection of Brock Bowers, he can do that, whereas you don't always have that luxury when you have to loft the ball.
That, or you got to find lanes. And sometimes hard to find lanes in the pocket.
You like that quarterback breakdown?
I love it.
Here we go. We have Broderick Jones coming in motion over here.
Well,
it's not really in motion. It's just lining up on that side.
Yeah, I think he just lined up wrong. But still, unbalanced line. You got Brock Bowers as the left tackle. We've seen this play. This is the Michigan touchdown. This is semi like the Alabama touchdown a little bit, but just a different formation. different look, but he's still sort of taking that outward thing. But everybody to me is like check, positive, check, positive, check, positive. SVP doing work. Erickson, boom, then gets up and then takes the linebacker where he wants to go, stays with him. That's a great job by Erickson. Mims and Broderick. Now, we'll say, Broderick, please keep your head up a little bit. Like when you go hit these little guys, like he's there laid off the line, and then boom, puts his head down to go hit 6. Like, keep your head up a little bit. But
underrated deal on this play, and it's Dom Blaylock here, because it takes a long time for him to get engaged with his block because the defensive back is kind of falling back at it. It really takes until you get to about the goal line. I don't know that it would have stopped the play, but it really would have been a bit harder if Dom Blaylock doesn't stay involved and engaged here. Stay with it. Who knows if that guy could fly in there?
Yep, we're obviously going to talk about the running backs at the end, but Edwards is he is phenomenal at this. Just little shifts and finding creases. I mean, that's why you saw 3 touchdown runs from him yesterday.
And one that didn't count, right? Didn't he come close to a 4th?
Yeah.
Making that? Yeah.
Yep.
It was a penalty.
That was on a check down, I think, right on the pass play. But I will say, so one more thing about that play. This is something where this is a young guy kind of, to me, making a mistake. Jackson Meeks on the outside, where he steps back. That to me is not how they don't want Broderick Jones uncovered, like as an eligible receiver. He needs to stay on the line of scrimmage there. So Resmi Jackson at the top of the screen can be off, because if you throw that ball to Bowers and he's past the line of scrimmage, now he's ineligible. Like, there's certain little details there that I bet, like, they're telling him, because his instinct is, all right, there's a big guy coming to my side. I need to now be off the ball, because that's typically a tight end. That's typically Darnell, something like that. But in this situation, Meeks to me needed to stay on the line of scrimmage.
You're not tossing to Broderick.
No.
And Broderick's even slow to get up off the line, like you were saying.
Yes.
Too. So
yep.
That's not a way to get a ball thrown your way, Broderick, even if you keep asking for it. I don't know. I think offensive linemen like to be thrown the bone, right?
He has, like, I know watching him, especially in high school, like, he looked like he could be a tight end. But anyway.
Amarius Mims had a G-Day reception. It didn't go well. 4th and inches here. This was to ice the game. And we talked about Nathan Edwards, this guy. And we still will. But Branson Robinson must get more carries. This is special.
And I think he's going to. And Kendall Milton didn't play the rest of the game with a groin. Who knows how good that is? That's groin, hammy, all those words. Like, okay, I could see them resting him against Vanderbilt just so he has 2 full weeks to be ready for the Florida game. And if that's the case, you're going to see more and more of Branson Robinson, because, like, I noticed it from the first time he touched the ball. There's a certain explosiveness about him.
Only thing is, get this in your right arm. Get this in the outside.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Good call. I wrote that down as well. Like, dude, that can't, once you break, free. Now, granted, a lot of times I don't necessarily like them switching, but yeah, get this ball in your right arm, especially when you're out in the open and people coming from that side to get the ball. But I know our fearless leader made the Chubb comparison, and there's certain things about him that look that way.
I wasn't buying the Chubb comparison until this run, when they were just like sliding off of his hips as he's like churning through there. That's the first thing, because other than that, it's like, all right, cool. This guy's a workout warrior. He's got the big arms, yada, yada. I get it. But when I saw right there, just falling off of his hips and him not even fazed by it, I'm like, oh, there is some Chubb in there.
And when you think what's amazing, he has, I think, 6 now. 10+ yard runs. I mean, he had 2 or 3 in this game. But and I think Edwards has 8, Milton has 9, and he's got half the carries. So, his sort of explosive run ability, if you give him creases, and that's what this is a game about. I mean, they had over 300 yards rushing, especially if you take away the sacks.
I think Roddy said this was a Chubb run, except he kept his shoe on. If you remember the first really explosive Chubb run of his career, he lost a shoe right around the same part of the field, if I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Clemson, right? The Clemson game?
Yeah.
But
Final
yeah,
play. Let's go back to Dayne.
And this, all right. So this is one where we heard so much about the zone versus gap scheme because Cole Kulick brought it up after the game in the interview or something like that, and then it just became a thing and it took off. I'm like, it's not a thing. Like they're going to run variations of both. This is a split zone play, which, by the way, like I said, you need to have this as a part of your offense and have the throwing part with it. And when you do work like this, like you're going to get. And by the way, I love that one little hesitation, then all right, I'm just going to go hit you. I like how he finished this run. And obviously this is a run where you had like all 5 linemen plus Darnell kind of jumping in on the pile and energizing the team. But when the previous play, Robinson, I think, had 9 yards, I think, on a counter. And you look at the game, as long as they're diverse and you mix in the pop pass to Ladd, you mix in split zone like this, you're going to have inside zone, run counter, run duo, which is more of a, kind of gap, big on big scheme. You do these things and diversify your running game and not just be one thing, you're going to have success. And they were able to do that in this game. And because if you look at the splits, zone, the gap, it's like almost equal, 16-17, I think, in this game.
So the one player that can stop this is 32 right here. Just watch him and where he goes, because his decision kind of dictates this, right?
Yep. And that's you as the. But look, he's
way over.
It's the threat.
I'm going to go back to the start. Like if
I
pause this right here, if he can make the right call of, all right, that ball's going to go back there, but you can't do that because of what you're saying with the threat of this.
Like I said, this play, like split zone with him, especially with Darnell, with as much of a threat that Darnell and Brock are as a receiver, like it should be a staple of what they do. And to me, it would be like the first or second play of the game every game.
So those were the highlights of Georgia's offensive success. Running game, I thought, was the best it's been all season. Passing game, there were errors, especially early.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to talk about them.
Came back to life later. We'll talk about those a bit later on. We're going to end this video because we need to start our play of the game video, and then we'll do, after that, the offensive inconsistencies. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. Thanks for watching Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com.